Hello, here we are again. This time, what I really want to talk about is triads. You've likely heard of major chords and minor chords. Probably heard of diminished chords. Maybe you've heard of augmented chords. Those right there are the four main types of triads. So I want to talk about what those are, what they sound like, and what the big deal is with them. I think we need to start with the definition first of what chords even are. A good way to define a chord is playing 3 notes at a time or more, with maybe the exception of power chords, which is just 2 notes usually. It's usually a perfect fifth and a fourth, that kind of thing. Another thing that is important to define then is what the heck is a triad. So now that we understand what a chord is, then we can understand that a triad is a type of chord. And so these triads are made up of 3 notes. One more time, 3 notes. One note is called the root. This is like the main note of the triad. The other one is called the third, and then the last one is called the fifth. So we have 3 notes that are very important that make up our triad. Now, before I go and show you what the differences are between the triads, I want to explain a little bit about intervals, right? There's a space in between a distance in between each one of these notes that's really important. Between the root and the third, there is an interval. Between the third and the fifth, there's an interval. So we have 2 intervals, and those intervals we're gonna define what the sound is. So here, come to the keyboard and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Just to make things easy for ourselves, let's just talk about the C major chord, okay? Like I said, we have a root, we have a third, and we have a fifth. The interval between the root and the third in a major chord is major third. The distance between the third and the fifth is called a minor third. So it's called a third because we're moving 3 notes. So 1, 2, 3, C, D, E, right? And it's also called a third here because we got E, F, G, right? From E to G, third, from C to E, a third. Then you might be wondering at this point, why are they called then major thirds and minor thirds? So let's talk about that real quick. Thank you so much for spending time with me so far. I really, really appreciate you joining me. There's so much coming. If this benefits you and you have the means, you can support my channel by buying me a coffee. Really need it right now. I could certainly use the energy and the motivation. Thank you again. Let's go back to the video. So very simply, the distance between notes is measured in semitones. So from here to there, it's a semitone, is the closest that 2 notes can be to each other in Western music. So we got 1 semitone, 2 semitones, 3 semitones, 4 semitones. That right there, it's called a major third. For the second interval, we move 1, 2, 3. 3 semitones. That means now that we have a major chord, which is made up of a major third and a minor third. The next 3 chords then shouldn't take that long to explain because all you got to understand is what a major third is and what a minor third is. Okay, so if a major third is a major third and a minor third is the inverse of that. It is a minor third and a major third. So their minor third is between these 2 notes. So now we have C to E flat, and then our major third is going to be from E flat to G. The diminished is going to be 2 consecutive minor thirds, and the augmented is going to be 2 consecutive major thirds. Okay, so 1 minor third from C, and then another minor third from E flat. That's the Minish Triad. Now let's build an augmented. So we need to take 4 half steps and another half steps from this one. Oh, cool. So now we have C, E, and G sharp. And so let's talk about how the fifth interacts with the root of the note on each one of the 4 main chords that we talked about. So in both a major chord and in a minor chord, you have the same kind of fifth. You have a perfect fifth, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 semitones apart from the root. Now, with the diminished and with the augmented chords, that does change. So with the, instead of having a perfect fifth on a diminished triad, we have, you might have guessed it already, a diminished fifth. And the diminished fifth is 6 semitones apart, 6 semitones apart. And for the augmented, if you're seeing the pattern, then what we're going to have is 8 semitones interval, and it is called an augmented fifth. And I think those are the very basics that you need to understand to really get something out of what triads are. Just those four. There are other kinds of triads that are maybe not these traditional ones, right? There's many ways to play 3 notes at a time. It doesn't have to be these very specific intervals, but these are the ones that are foundational to Western music, that have really shaped how we hear music. So yeah, triads, they're kind of a big deal. So if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts about this, please let me know in the comments. I would love to start interacting with you guys a little bit more. And thank you so much for spending the time clicking on the video. Make sure to subscribe, and that would help tremendously. I'm trying to stay motivated to keep doing this. So thank you for your support.